program. The inner workings of U.S. diplomacy is being put on display for the world to see thanks to whistleblower website WikiLeaks. Thousands of communiques reveal often damning opinions on host countries, including close allies. Among them, seemingly illegal plans to spy on top UN figures and the suggestion the State Department knew Georgia was planning an attack on South Ossetia before it happened. Our Alexei Yershevsky joins us live for more on this. So, Alexei, the inner thoughts of America's diplomats have been laid bare, as we can see. How are they dealing with this massive leak?
Well, some of the findings, some of the things revealed by the controversial WikiLeaks website are so cynical in their nature that it's really hard to imagine what steps the American diplomats now have to take to clear their reputation. First of all, it is also a great threat to their work in the Middle East and Muslim countries across the world, as some of the conversations between the American diplomats have strong anti-Islamic statements, and of course this puts their work in serious danger in the Middle East region and the Muslim countries across the world. Now, also we know, according to the WikiLeaks, that basically in the conversations between the American diplomats, they actually in some way betrayed their close allies. For instance, the WikiLeaks reveals that the American diplomats supported the Kurdish party in Turkey, despite openly saying that it wasn't so, and despite that Ankara is being one of the closest allies in this region for Washington. Another interesting part of the WikiLeaks revealings is that the secret services in the United States were ordered to spy on several very key UN figures. For instance, they were trying to acquire their credit card numbers, tap their cell phones, and acquire their fingerprints and things like that. And some of the things revealed by the WikiLeaks have a very absurd scent about them. For instance, the U.S. diplomats were sending out letters to Western diplomats, to European diplomats, concerning the UN General Assembly. So when Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, when the Iranian president was to speak, they received instructions on how and when they should have left the UN General Assembly hall. And one of these situations was really funny, because as a member of the Swedish delegation, according to the WikiLeaks website, received a letter from the US diplomats saying that he had to leave the hall when Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was to mention the Holocaust issue. So the Iranian president didn't actually mention this issue, so the Swedish diplomat was perplexed as to what to do next, so he didn't know whether he had to leave the room or stay inside. So this indeed created great confusion for him. All in all, we know that the WikiLeaks website, the controversial website, is to publish an overall of almost 250,000 different files and different conversations of the American diplomats, and we're yet to see what other scandalous things the WikiLeaks is to publish, and of course we'll be keeping track of that.
Now, let's see, for the first time, information was released to a Russian media outlet. Any specific revelations there?
Yes, we do know that the WikiLeaks website is providing information to several magazines and newspapers across the world. The Ruski Reporter, the Russian Reporter magazine, is no exception to that. We know that the website has supplied the magazine with very interesting information concerning the South Ossetian War of 2008. The WikiLeaks reported that the American ambassador to Georgia at that time, John Theft, who is now an ambassador of the United States in Ukraine, knew some 24 hours before Georgian bombs started falling on South Ossetia that the Georgian missile complexes were moving towards the South Ossetian border. And later on, several days after that, he contacted Washington on how to start an information war, an information campaign to clear Saakashvili's name, as if anybody doubted that Saakashvili was involved in that attack. And we also know that the WikiLeaks reported that several countries, including the Baltic states and Poland, who openly supported Georgia in that war, also knew that it was Saakashvili who started this attack on South Ossetia, but obviously tried to neglect that fact. Also, the WikiLeaks are reporting that several US diplomats were talking about different world leaders in Europe and in Russia, discussing on how and who is running the country. In particular, they discussed the power tandem in Russia, the Putin-Medvedev collaboration, talking about who is actually in charge of all things here in this country, and saying that it was probably Putin who, despite that he's prime minister, that he is running Russia in Moscow. Indeed, first of all, this is not a surprise to many, because this was something we could read in the Western magazines and newspapers for a very long time. But second, indeed, these statements from US diplomats came in the George W. Bush era in 2008 and earlier than that. Now we have the so-called reset of relations between Washington and Moscow. So it is quite possible that the opinions among the US diplomats are quite different right now. But indeed, we have to see what the reaction of the US diplomats on those